About the origin of the COVID-19 pandemic. The theory of a lab leak from Wuhan's Institute of Virology was first thought to be just a conspiracy.
But now the Biden administration is asking the intelligence community to take a closer look at the possibility and then report back in 90 days. And joining us now with more on the revelations, Washington Post politics editor Dave Clark. Hi, Dave. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks.
When this theory first came out, there was so much rhetoric. There was no smoking gun. Now we're seeing a shift. Can you tell us what brought us to this point?
Well, I think originally some of what happened was that it kind of got caught up in the pushback to President Trump, right? That so the president and some of his allies were accusing China of creating a bioweapon, which there's been no proof of. But it also led to people kind of, in a reaction to Trump, dismissing even the idea that this could have escaped from the lab in Wuhan. And now what we're seeing now is a reconsideration of that, whether or not that's a possibility. President Biden has ordered the intelligence community to look into this. He's released some of their findings so far, which says that there's at least one part of the intelligence community who feels it's a real possibility that this lab unintentionally leaked the coronavirus. But there's still no proof that that's the case, but there's certainly a reconsideration of it.
I know I have seen several interviews with scientists saying that this was indeed something invented in a lab, but it may have been covered up. Is that the possibility that it was a cover-up?
Well, I think at this point, everything's a possibility. One of the things that happened last year is much of the scientific community dismissed the idea that it was a lab leak. They said that it came from this wet market, that it was something that essentially is transferred from an animal, perhaps a bat, to a human via just simply eating them. And so that was the prevalent theory at the time, and many scientists, both in the US and China, at the WHO, were dismissing the idea of escape from the lab. But I think there's been a reevaluation of it, that is a possibility, because that lab does study coronavirus. And obviously it's in Wuhan. It's close to the wet market where the virus was originally supposed to have started. So there's been a reevaluation of that, both among political officials as well as scientific officials.
The Chinese have really kept this kind of tightly guarded here, but the eyes of the world have been on this lab in Wuhan. Can you give us a sense about what kind of forensic work they will do at this point in time to try to find something definitive?
Well, I think that's the hard part about it, is that the Chinese have not been particularly transparent about this. They're not giving teams of scientists full access, so it's hard to know. So to what degree we'll ever be able to know what the origin is unclear. And part of that is because China is not being transparent. They're not allowing teams to get in there. The WHO itself has come under scrutiny because there's a feeling that they were not pressing China enough for access and for clear information about this. So what we'll find out is unclear. The US intelligence agencies are looking into it. But it's not clear that the data that they have or the information they have is going to provide a clear answer. And part of that is just because China has not allowed a lot of access to this site or to the area in general.
Dave, what do we know, or could there be any ramifications to China if in fact it turns out to be risky research?
Yeah, I think that's a big question, because obviously lots of people in the US have died, but lots of people worldwide have died. I believe it's 3.5 million or around there. So if this was a lab accident and it led to all these deaths, there would clearly be some kind of diplomatic pressure on China, particularly if they're not being transparent and they're not cooperating. So what that would be, I'm not sure, and we'd have to see. But this is not just a scientific issue, it's also a political and diplomatic issue. I mean, if China was this was a lab accident, there's going to be some sort of price for them to pay. What that is, I'm not sure.
Well, I'm sure because of all the deaths, as you said. All right, Dave Clark, thank you so much, with the Washington Post politics editor. Appreciate it. Be safe, be well.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you.